Hey guys, what's up? Caleb Downing here, and today we're talking about the new Osight X from Osight. Olight. The Osight X from Olight. Make sure we say that right. X for large. Yes, let's get into it. Alright, so the Osight X. They came out with two different versions this year. The Osight S, which is a smaller RMSE footprint, and then this guy right here, the Osight X, which I'm guessing that means larger. X, extra large, I don't know. But it is a larger optic. If you compare this with other general-sized RMR footprint, which is what this guy is, an RMR footprint optic, it's a little bit larger window, which is nice. A lot of companies, maybe not a lot, but several companies went with larger windows. I think it was last year or the year before, just started expanding things, giving people more options, and Osight was one of the people that went ahead and did that. Now, they already came out with one of these sights, which is a little bit different, tiny bit different, mostly in the internals, but they had this sight. The original one, I think it was just called Osight. There was no other acronym because it's the only one that they had. And we've had this guy for about a year, maybe a little over a year, I think. But we've had this thing for a while, and we've used it. They both have some of the major same features, but we'll talk about some of the things that are different. One of those features, both of these are rechargeable. All the Osight optics that I'm aware of, because I think they only have 3 right now, the older one, the X, and an S, they're all rechargeable, which means there's no battery tray on the side. You don't take the optic off and change out a battery on the inside. They're all rechargeable on top with these little charging hubs, charging cases, whatever you want to call them. The way this works is this guy has a USB-C charger on one side, so this thing has a battery in it. You charge this guy up, and then you take it and simply plop it over your optic, and when it connects, it'll tell you how much, how much battery the optic itself has and if it's charging. And right now, this guy is sitting at basically 100%. Right, it says it's trying to charge, but he's at 100%, so he's not going to charge much. If you take this little case off and hit the button on the side, it has one button on the side, it's going to go around and show you the battery level of the charging case itself. So this guy right now is sitting at, well, 100%, so he's already charged up. So if I needed to charge this, it comes with a USB-C, USB cable, so you can just go ahead and plug this guy in and keep this thing charged up. We'll get into run times and all that stuff in a second. Before we get too discombobulated and all over the place, let's talk about what comes in the box, and then we'll get into some specs and just give our general, overview of this thing. Before we get into that, I do need to say, Olight did send me this optic. They sent me the old one last year. They sent me this one. They sent me the RMSE version, their S version. So I didn't pay for these things. I think MSRP is sitting right around, I think it's around 250-ish, 250, 300, 250, I think is what these things go for right now. So that's what the MSRP is around something like that. But I did not pay for this. They sent me this. So if that skews your vision or your view of what I have to say about these things, that's fine. I really don't care. As always, I give my unbiased opinion. I tell you the truth about things. If they stand on their own 2 feet, they stand on their own 2 feet. I don't care if somebody sent it to me for free or if I bought it. If stuff is really, really, really bad, you'll probably never see it because I don't like to trash companies unless they're dangerous. Like an ammunition company a long time ago. You can look that up if you want. Don't like them. But Osight, so far, has been good. So that's my disclaimers and stuff. Let's get into what comes in the box, and then we'll get into specs. Alright, some people really like an unboxing experience, and I mean, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I hear that some companies like to have really nice boxes because it just makes you feel like you're vested more into the product. Maybe that's what they're doing. I know Apple does that, but you do kind of get this cool little, experience when you open it. You get all your accessories over on this side. We already have everything taken out pretty much, but your optic goes here. Your little charging cover would sit right in here. It's all nice and pretty. It really is. It's whatever. I don't know. I don't know if that's worth anything to anybody, but it's nice. It's nice to have all that stuff. On this side, I already have everything taken out, but you have your charging cable, you have your little lanyard, and your little sighting tool, right? So you got your charging cable, a little lanyard, your little sight-in tool, which has your Torx on one side for attaching the optic, and then a little flathead for adjusting your zero. You also have a little baggie, right? You can keep everything in, along with a little microfiber cloth. It's pretty nice. This portion here has all your screws. Now this is a time I'm going to take to just drool on this a little bit. I really, really wish other companies, especially companies that charge 2 or 3 times this amount for their optics, would do something similar to this. Most companies, when they send you an optic, or when you get an optic, when you buy it, in the package there's a bunch of little Ziploc baggies, and they have little stickers on them, and hopefully those stickers don't come off, because you're just gonna have to guess and match and try to figure out which screw goes on which thing, what's the thread pattern. They're not marked on the screws themselves. It's an inconvenience once you see something like this. That's kind of the standard. You get little Ziploc baggies, and most people are just okay with that. Well, you're okay with that until you get something like this. This has all your screws labeled out, right? You have 632, M4, M3, and 640. And in each one of these, you have 6 different screws, and you got a couple different lengths of each one of those screws, or bolts, or whatever you want to call them. That is attention to detail. That puts this at the higher end of quality of what you're paying for. Sometimes you pay for what you get. Well, there's a range there. Yeah, you're paying less than $300 for this thing, but you're at the higher end of that. In my experience, you're at the higher end of that. They're not skimping on the little things. This is an attention to detail thing that shows me if they're paying this much attention to this, then that tells me that they probably put a lot of attention into the internals and the design of the optic itself. It's just little things that give you little cues along the way to say, okay, they're thinking about this stuff. They're not just slapping together something, rebranding it, and then throwing their name on it. They actually did something here. So this was just a little cue, a little clue for me that I was like, I like that. I liked it on the old version that they did, and I like it on these new ones that they're continuing to do that. So you get all your screws ready to go and labeled, and you get a little card that gives you the Torx value that you need, right? Now, granted, you can't use proper Torx with this little thing that they give you, but this will get you by. You can mount the optic. If you do have a fix-it stick or some kind of torque wrench or something like that, it's 15, 17 inch-pounds. You basically can tighten these things down and have them set to what they recommend you actually have it torqued down to, so you don't over-torque it, bust the heads off, or under-torque it, and they work themselves out. Again, that's attention to detail. That's something that stands out to me as like, they're thinking about this. They're thinking about this. Also, since we're talking about the stuff that comes in here, this little lanyard, generally lanyards find their way into the trash, and I don't really care about them. This is a pro and a con. This is the Achilles heel of this whole system, is the fact that it charges off of this little charging block thing. So if you lose this, now your optic won't charge, because there's no other USB-C or other little magnetic thing or whatever that I'm aware of that you can use to charge this guy up. Now, maybe they will sell, I don't even know, I should have looked it up. They might sell, they should sell extra little chargers, right? They should do that, and if they do, kudos to them. If they don't, they need to do it, because if you lose this, you can't charge your optic, which again, since you can't take the battery out, you can't change anything out, the system's going to be dead. I lose stuff all the time, but somehow I have not lost the little charging cover for my original optic, and it's fine. So, I don't know. So, somehow I haven't lost it. But they looked ahead on that, and I don't think they had this last time. I know they didn't have a little, it's right here. Make sure I'm not lying to you guys. Yeah, I do not see any little hole or any area at all for a lanyard to go in the original charging block. This guy does have one on the side, which is nice, again, to just make sure you don't lose this thing. They give you a little lanyard, but also you can keep it in your little baggie with all your other stuff, and hopefully you're not going to lose your little baggie. If you lose that, then you're probably just going to lose stuff anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it. But anyway, that's just a little thing to keep in mind. Keep in mind a little bit. All right, let's get into some specs and stuff. I know this looks like a mess. Let's get this stuff out of the way. Let's get into some specs and things. I'm not going to sit here and read all this off to you guys, because that'd be really boring. And if you really want to know all the specs, then go look it up on their website, because surely they have everything over there. I'm going to hit the major points, major things, and if you need to know more, again, go look it up. This is not an all-inclusive 3-hour review of technical data, because I don't know anybody that would really like that, except for maybe my brother, but he's an engineer and he likes nerdy stuff. We are talking about cream in the box. The specs, I'll throw it up there on the screen for you guys so you can see it. Your main body, your housings are made of plastic, oh my goodness, and 6061 aluminum. The plastic It's the charging case. Don't worry about that. I think it's perfectly fine. That's not a big deal. It's not an impact thing. It's going to be fine. Even if you crack the side, it's still going to work. The optic itself is aluminum. The housing of the optic is aluminum. That's the important thing. The optic is not plastic. Don't misunderstand me there, okay? Your weight is 1.76 ounces, and your full time or full battery charging time is 2.5 hours. So if this optic is dead, plop your little charger on there, 2.5 hours later, you'll be good to go. Since we're talking about run times, according to them, on full brightness setting, with motion detection on, depending on which reticle you got, because you got 3 reticles, you have a 3 MOA dot, a 32 MOA ring, and you can run those dot, or circle. Okay, so if you have circle dot, you're running 21,000 hours. If you're running the dot, you're running 57,000 hours. And if you're running the circle itself, it's 22,000 hours. And again, that's full brightness setting, but on shake awake or on motion sensing. I think it's motion detection is what they call it. Okay, so the thing is that might be how a lot of people run them. I can tell you for myself, I do like shake awake, but whenever I tested the older optic, it did this consistently. I had it on 100% brightness setting. I had no shake awake on, no auto sensing on. It was full on all the time, everything, full power, boom. Lasted right around, I think it was right around 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, something like that. I should get you the exact dates, but suffice to say about 3 weeks. That's full power all the time, no shake awake. If you run it like how I like to run it, which is about setting 7, right? So a little bit higher than medium, so brighter than you probably think you might need it, just 1 or 2 brighter than generally what you might think you need, just in case you walk outside or somebody shines a light or something. And you keep it on auto, as far as like not auto adjusting. I don't like auto adjusting. They have the little light sensor, so it works. It works pretty well. But if you have it on shake awake or motion sensing, so that if it sits there for a while, it just turns off, you could easily go a month, and then at the end of the month, plop your little charger on there overnight, take it off in the next morning, and you'll be good to go and never have to worry about it. Now, if you want to check your battery and not want to do that and be like, well, what kind of battery level do I have? This is a bad deal. No, it's not a bad deal at all. They help you with that. You can check the battery level, like I said, by plopping this guy on top, and it will tell you the battery level. If it's charging, this guy right now is fully charged. So he's not going to be charging at all anyway. So that's fully charged. If you want to know gross numbers as far as like, do I need to top this thing off? Maybe you're at a class or you're doing something like, is my battery going to die on me? You can push one of the buttons on the side, has the minus and the plus button, and there's a little LED indicator in between those. Hopefully that came on. There you go. Make sure it is on. It only stays on for just a second, just a couple seconds. And in here, I'm going to make sure I read this to you right so I don't mess it up and tell you something wrong. If you are at green, if the light was green, which this guy was on, you are 50% to 100%. If the light is yellow, you are 50 to 20%. So you're in that lower end. If it's red, you're 20 to 10%. And if it's flashing red at you, that means you got 10% or less and you really need to charge the thing. Okay? So you can change it, or you can check that, which I don't really think any other optic does that, as far as I'm not aware of any other optic, let me know if I'm wrong, that can check its own battery. I think because most of the time you're running 2032, 1632 batteries that are not rechargeable, and so there's no real way to check that as far as I'm aware of on little optics like this. There's another company that makes an optic that is solar powered and it charges its own battery, and maybe with that one it can check its own battery level and tell you. Maybe, I don't know, I don't have one of those, so I can't say. But this is awesome because you can have peace of mind knowing what your battery level is, your like exact battery level. You throw this guy on, or you can just push the button on the side and check. If it's green, you're definitely good for another week or two, basically. I think that's cool. That's attention to detail thing. That's a cool thing. That's a very convenient thing. The only other specs that I have on here is this is rated for 1 meter drops and IPX6 rating as far as your waterproofness. I don't think you're supposed to be scuba diving with these. I wouldn't be doing that anyway. Or really like, if you're using this like a normal human being, I don't think you're gonna have any problem. Mud and snow and sweat and water and rain, that can all get all over here and you're gonna be fine. I don't think they want you submerging this at the bottom of a lake and then expecting it to work again. I don't think so. If you want that, I think that's what the IPX7 is over on their other version, because the other version, they have the S model, it's fully enclosed. This guy's not fully enclosed, so keep that in mind. That's your waterproof rating and your drop rating. Now that was rated at 1 meter, and the more I got looking at this, I've kind of, I'm going to do this kind of as a standard as best I can on optics that are worth doing it to. If you got a $50 optic, I really don't care if it's drop rated or not, because I'm probably not going to use it anyway. But if you have an optic like this, that honestly I carry the other one, so I trust it enough to actually carry it. So this is not just like me spouting off numbers. I actually trust these things so far, especially the other one. He works, continues to work, holds zero, all that stuff. So on optics that you could actually potentially use for real lives, drop ratings are kind of important, right? Because yes, you can drop your optic, you can drop your gun. You probably shouldn't, but it happens, right? You're probably not throwing it off of a tree, running it over with a car, or smashing it with rocks. That's impractical, and that's not really normal use. But normal use would be it falls off of a table, or you're out at the range and it falls off the bed of a truck, or a range table or something, or somehow you drop it. Your hands get slickery or whatever, and you drop it. Generally, all of those real life scenarios, that's about 1 meter high, 3 feet, 3.5 feet, something like that. That's about 1 meter high, and that's what it's rated at. So we actually did that. We brought this thing out. Now, granted, everything was frozen solid. It was like an ice skating rink, and I was slipping all over the place, so it wasn't dropping it on rocks. Usually it's gravel out there, so there's gravel underneath this ice, but it was sheet ice, and we dropped it. Now, whenever we tested this thing, I haven't shot it on this pistol yet. It looks really good, I think, on this pistol. That's where I think it's designed to be used. We shot it on the MP5. Now, I had a mount that was not an Osight mount, because they didn't send me one, but they wanted me to test it and just try it out, on a PCC. So, PCC I got the MP5. Why not? Let's use that. Whenever I dropped it 3 times, and I went to go confirm 0. I was like, this thing is way off. I'm talking like 4 feet off. I was like, this is crazy. The optic didn't break. The glass is still good. I mean, it didn't smash the top or anything. Like, there's nothing wrong. What's going on? The more I looked at it, I was like, oh, my little mount. I threw it away already. But the mount is like a skeletonized mount, and it's crushed. So the mount failed. It's not an Olight thing or an Osight thing, whatever. It was straight up another company, their pot metal mount crushed and broke. The optic was fine, but the mount itself broke, which can kind of tell you the optic beat the mount, so that's good, because a lot of times mounts are pretty dang stable, and the optic itself survived. So kudos to them so far. Now, I need to get back out and shoot this thing on the pistol, and then make sure everything's working as far as that goes. But so far, I mean, nothing appears to be damaged or broken or jarred loose or anything. Right? As best as I can tell, it's not. Since we're talking about the internals, best I can, I don't know all about their electronics and stuff in there, but you do have tactile and audible clicks, which is very nice, which gives me more confidence in the adjustments, because there's something in there holding those turrets still. You get some of these optics out there that are kind of free spinning. They're a little hard to spin, but they're free spinning. I really, really don't like those, because again, just that confidence that, is it maybe going to adjust over time? I don't know. Like, I really hope not, but ones that are tactile and audible, that means there's something in there holding that turret still. So yeah, granted, maybe somehow you could shake it loose, maybe, but you're far less likely to shake, in my experience, a tactile audible turret versus a free spinning turret. All right, that's what I got to say about that. Yeah, I think that's all our major points. So we're going to get back out at a different time, and continue to use these things, especially on this host here. I got suppressor reviews and different things coming up where I'm going to, utilize this pistol more. I've wanted this gun for a long time and finally have one. So I'm going to use it on here. I think it's mounted with a CNH Precision adapter plate for this guy. So I think we got quality mounting materials. So if anything does go wrong over time, I'm sure I will update you guys on that. Then it will be the optic itself. I don't think it's going to be the gun mounting system or that CNH plate. It's a pretty rock solid setup, I think. The one other thing I do want to point out is they did update not only the little lanyard hole, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but I think it's an attention to detail thing, but they also fixed the back portion of this. Now, the older one, what I'm talking about, the older mount, the older battery charger had this little lip back here. So this is the older mount, or the older optic, the older battery charger. Where'd we go? Or no, lip's over here, but still the lip stuck out here. Yeah, it's not on. It's not on, it's not charging, nothing's on there because the rear sights, they kind of impede the mounting block. Now on mine, I can push it over and now it goes on there and you can see it's showing, you know, the charge levels and everything, because there's enough gap in here to where I'm able to do that. On some people's optics, their rear sights were closer to the optic, and so this charging block just, it wouldn't work. It'd be incompatible, and you could, well, no, it'd be a little bit harder to do it on here. You could almost trim this back a little bit, but then you're messing with stuff and you're trimming things and you're taking away warranties and all that kind of stuff. What they have done, get this thing out of here, what they have done is fixed that completely by basically shaving everything off and making this guy flush. Like the back of this charger block is flush with the back of the optic itself. So, I mean, you can have these the rear sights, the iron sights way closer and basically touching your optic, and you still should be able to charge this thing. So they did pay attention, again, companies paying attention to their customer base. I appreciate that. And they changed and updated this version. So kudos to them. That's, again, an attention to detail and a company willing to change and improve their product based on customer feedback. It sounds like a little thing, but that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing, because there's big companies out there that won't do that. They don't want to do that because they know better than you do, because it's their thing and they made it. It's like, yeah, it's their thing and they made it, but you're the one that's trying to use it and it's not working for you. So when enough people had problems, Osight changed their thing. They changed their design, changed it up a little bit. And to me, I approve of that. I like that. That is a humble move. And I like that. I like that a lot. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Osight, is it trustworthy? Is it something that you would use? Given the price range of, I think these are between, I think $2 to $250, I think. Let's just say maybe, let's say $2 to $275. Just depending on what MSRP is exactly, and depending on, you know, what it's actually going to be out there in the real world, and discounts and things like that. Are you seeing the features you would want in that price range, right? What would you like to see changed? Did they change things that you saw in the old model that you like the change now? I mean, if we didn't mention it before, you can change everything on here as far as, I mean, you can adjust everything on here as far as like shake awake, you can turn it on, turn it off. The auto sensing, the light auto sensing, you can turn it on, you can turn it off. All that stuff, all those things. So the way I like to run it is on setting 7 with a medium to high dot with shake awake on, auto sensing off, and just run it like that. And I'm perfectly happy and perfectly fine with that. But I'd like to hear back from you guys. What features and things do you like to see on these kind of optics? That's it. I'm done. Enough word vomit. Appreciate Osight for sending this thing out. I'd love to hear back from you guys and hear what you have to say. All right, y'all be good, be safe. Appreciate you, and hopefully we'll catch you in the next video. See you.